That's great. Okay, everybody, thank you ever so much for your patience and helping us set this up tonight. We're incredibly proud here at Chapter to have this film here. It's so rare that we get a film in the Welsh language, and it's an absolute pleasure. And what a wonderful treat of a film that was. So, yeah, I really hope you enjoyed the Q&A. I'd just like to welcome our guests to the stage. So thank you very much.
Wel, cyn bych chi gyd yn dianc i'r bag, gobeithio bych chi fel fi wedi mwynhau y ffilm. Gan bod ni'n ddolig, dwi'n cael y pleser rwan o holi'r 3 gŵr doeth yma, felly mae bleser gen i Rhys Ifans gyflwyno cyfarwyddwr, cyd-sgwennwr a chynhyrchydd y ffilm, Kevin Allen. Un o sêr y ffilm, Rhys Ifans sydd bod yn ymwneud o'r prosiect ers y cychwyn cyntaf, a wedyn yr ythrylydd barddol T. James Jones sy'n gyfrifol am addasu yn dymil cwd i'r Gymraeg. Rhys, gadech efo ti, bod mewn blwyddyn lle mae'n gymaint o sylw wedi cael ei roi i Dylan Thomas, pa mor bwysig oedd o bod chi'n creu rhywbeth hollol wahanol hefo'r ffilm yma?
Wel, mae pawb yn gwybod bod i Dylan Thomas erbyn hyn, sy'n meddwl, ar ôl Lenny. Mae hwn yn ddarn sydd fod yn agos iawn at ynghalon ni ers ers amser rhai blynyddoedd yn ôl nes i gynhyrchiad, on i fewn cynhyrchiad o hwn yn y Theatr Genedlaethol yn Llundain, ac ers hynny mae wedi fatha chwarae ar meddwl i fod y cynhyrchiad hwnnw oedd yn gynhyrchiad da a sawl cynhyrchiad arall dwi wedi weld a'i glywed bod yna rhywbeth, bod yna elfen arall breuddwydiol, psychedelic, nwydus sydd heb i gael sydd heb i explorio. Oedd hyn yn rhywbeth oedd fi a Kevin yn gytun o'r cychwyn un. A mae o yn ysgwennu, mae o'n ddarn nwydus, mae yna ddelweddau rhywiol iawn, mae yna hoffter enbyd drwy'r peth i gyd at y bobl yma, at eu bywydau allanol a'i bywydau mewnol nhw, a mae yna elfennau delweddau paganaidd a Cristino. Mae o'n gyfoeth, mae o'n fancwet gweledol heno ag i'r glust, a dwi'n meddwl, ac yn nwylo Kevin oedd yr unig ddyn digon gwallgo i ymgyfathrachu ar darn yma, dwi'n meddwl.
Ddown ni at Kevin mewn munud. Dwi isio ymateb Jim, os gwelwch yn dda, Jim, achos fel ti'n dweud, ti'n rhan o gynhyrchiad yn y National Theatre yn Lloegr, ond dwi'n gwybod pa mor gyfarwydd oedd ti hefo'r fersiwn Gymraeg. A mae rhaid ni ofyn wan, Jim, eich geiriau hynod chi, be ydych chi feddwl o'r dehongliad gweledol?
Wel, oedd hi'n wefr i gweld i o'r newydd. Mae dan o endall ni yn ymwyl gwrdel yn ei weid wedi wneud mewn cymryd o wahanol ffurfiau. Ond mae'r cynhyrchiad yma ni'n dychmygus iawn yn y marn ni. A mae yna rai o golygfeydd sydd yn mynd i ddal yn y cof a maen nhw'n...
Na'i'n gofyn parau.
Wel, pan nes i gyfieithu yn ymwyl cwd gynta, o'n i'n weinidog bach barchus. Yn y gyfyrddin. A o'n i'n wedi sylweddoli pan weles i'r gweinidog yn hon heno, mor beryglus oedd agor eich hunan mewn pwlpit. A oedd yr olygfa ni'n arbennig o'n i'n meddwl. Mae dyn wedi rhoi dyddiau o'r blynyddoedd mewn gwirionedd i'r gwaith yma, oherwydd mae'n ail addasiad wedi bod, fel i chi'n gwybod. Ac wedi mor falch bod fi wedi cael cyfle i ail addasu oherwydd oedd yr addasiad cyntaf bron yn 100 mlwydd oed. A mae unrhyw un sydd yn 100 yn dechrau simsanu wedi mynd ymhell dros hynny erbyn hyn. Ond wi mor falch o gael y cyfle yma a mae'r tro cyntaf wedi gweld yng ngeiriau i ar sgrin fawr a dyna'r wefr fwyaf o ddidi hynny.
Kevin, as we all know, Under Milk Road is a play for voices. So,
it certainly is, and really should only be a play for voices.
But what were the challenges? How did you go about adapting it for the big screen. And how much fun did you have producing this?
A lot of fun. I mean, where did we start? It was the most collaborative journey that I've ever made, making a movie, without a doubt. And I think the decision was made that it had to be. It came with so much baggage, this thing. You know, it just felt, you know, be careful what you wish for, really. And it was that journey with Rhys Murray. You know, Lachlan Young is a poet in his own right. He was impassioned with the whole concept of visualising poetry, and I think more poetry should be attempted to be visualised. It's important stuff. And then Michael Breen, of course, was another component we brought in, who's our symbolism, existentialism, ism guru, if you like, to keep an eye on us. We didn't just like shove stuff in here or fling in bits of symbolism. I mean, every bit of symbolism in that film is accountable for, justifiable. We can explain it, you know.
I think both Freud and Jung would approve.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, I mean, that's funny, you know, talk about this journey, you know. That's why Bob's here, you know.
Who is Bob?
Bob's a Robin, and, you know, again, talking about that baggage that comes with, you know, I started to feel at a point in pre-production this pressure I'd never felt before. It's not the usual pressure that I enjoy and embrace and thrive on. You know, I love all that, and then there was this residual pressure of the baggage. You know, there was this sort of barbed, yeah, hope it goes well. You know, it should only be a play. And it's just this kind of collective, incremental kind of stuff that just mounted as the Dylan Thomas police and the custodians of the piece. And it just hadn't really figured until this point in pre-production. I thought, Jesus Christ, I've got to make a fucking good film here, you know, because there's a lot of people watching this now, and there's eyes on me. And I got very drunk on a Saturday night. I mean, really, really drunk, you know, after 6 days pre-production, good old drinking the ship in. And there was this really dull yachty, you know. Not a Solva yachty, they don't have yachties in Solva, they just like go out and catch some fish, you know. But there was this Ted Heath guy on heroin telling me that, you know, it was the wrong thing to do. And I just decided to get really, really drunk. And I started to feel very maudling about it. And I went home, and Bob was a pet Robin in our house. That he, you know, flew around the house. I got to know Bob. Carlton was staying with me, and I started talking to this Robin at dawn, because the birds were going, oh, Rob, you know, Bob came out, and it was Bob. And I put Bob Dylan on this kind of 60s record player, because they had vinyl, and it was all just very weird, because there's Bob Dylan playing on the record player. I've convinced myself that's Dylan Thomas. And I started talking to him, to Bob. It's true. And because what happened was I decided to just forget all that baggage, and I wanted to provide something that Dylan Thomas would be pleased with. So he became the most I wanted to make this film as something that he would really like more than anybody else. And that's all I tried to do.
And what about Mam? What do you think your Mam would say?
Yeah, you got to be different, yes. Listen, Mum's like everything in Sunday school, you know.
Ond Rhys, y profiad o ffilmio, os nath chi ffilmio yn y Gymraeg a'r Saesneg, a gwneud y cyfan o'r 6 wythnos yn dod, ond eitha anhygoel be nath chi lwyddo i gyflawni yn yr wythnos yna.
Wel, anhygoel be nath Kevin gyflwyno. Mae'r ffilm ar y sgrin yn edrych filiynau yn mwy na nath i gostio heb os. Mae o'n just yn gampwaith yn hynna beth. Ond oedd o'n brofiad anhygoel, enwedig bod yn solfa, yn aml pan mae criw ffilmiau mynd i gymuned fach, mae'n sefyllfa them and us. Ond yn solfa gaethon ni groeso anhygoel, a dwi'n teimlo bod yna rhywbeth o ysbryd solfa wedi rwbio ar y ffilm yn ystod gwneud y ffilm. Mae yna gymuned arbennig iawn yn solfa. Mae'r elfennau hipiaidd mae ti'n weld yn y ffilm. Mae yna rhywbeth psychedelig am y lle, a mae yna rhywbeth psychedelig iawn am y darn yma, wirioneddol psychedelig. Oedd o'n brofiad gwych a jyst i fi, o'n i newydd chwarae Dylan Thomas yn ei oriau olaf tywyllaf wneud seithi ffilm yn Canada, so oedd hi'n awyr iach dod yn ôl i Gymru a wneud weth mewn technicolor, lle oedd pawb yn byw ar y diwedd.
Beth y syniad wedyn sef, y tîm portreadu Captain Cat ac yn gwneud y llais cyntaf? Syniad pwy?
Wel, dwi'n meddwl syniad, meddwl dylan falle oedd creu cymeriad dall i greu rhyw fath o undod efo cynulleidfa radio sydd hefyd ddim yn gweld. Yn syniad ni oedd Captain Cat ydy'r er bod o'n ddall, ydy'r unig berson sy'n commentio ar y pentre yma, sy'n gweld y dre, a fod o rwsyd yn rhyw appendage i symwybodol breuddwydiol o'r llais cyntaf. Fod y llais cyntaf falle yn Captain Cat ieuengach, neu'n Captain Cat sy'n gweld mewn i freuddwyd, sy'n gweld mewn i freuddwyd, sy'n gweld mewn i freuddwyd. Beth sy'n yn gymorth efo darn fel yna, ydy bod na ddim pwysau i fod yn linear neu fod yn dos na ddim logic. Barddoniaeth ydy hwn. A mae hwnna mewn un ffordd yn creu cyffion, ond mewn ffordd arall yn rhoi set o adenydd i ti.
Because, yeah, Kevin, how difficult is it to not just go with the literal translation every time? In terms of the imagery and the amazing text?
Well,
how did you convey it all?
Delivering a literal translation would have been a mistake.
Yeah.
I think. You may as well just read it. I mean, the idea was that we would be interpretive and adaptive, and that's where Murray, beginning of the journey. So, no, I think it's as Rhys just said. There's as a filmmaker to take on a piece of work that doesn't have the usual 3-act classical structure of narrative. It's so refreshing because things are so formulaic now. We know the goodies, the baddies, we know what's going to happen. There's 3 acts, the plot points. And to work on a piece of work that doesn't have that was a dream, and we were making a dream. You just got to keep an eye on it. You've got to be very careful to balance the trip, the journey with paying homage to the respecting the literature. So it's a really, it's a sort of high wire act in a way. You've got to be very careful. You could easily go bonkers with this, even in the edit. Even what you shoot, you could regard as one thing. You can get in the edit, and you can go mental with this. But be very careful because the text and the poetry is paramount. So you're treading a fine line, and it really does keep you on your toes.
Ac o ran parchu'r gwaith, dwi'n gwybod Jane, dewch chi fel helpu Rhys Ifans yn do hefo'r llais. Sut brofiad oedd hynny? Achos mae'n hollol allweddol bod y llais yn iawn, dwi?
Odi, a wrth gwrs oedd y cynrychiad ma yn driw i freuddwyd gynta Dylan, hynna'n oherwydd yn wreiddiol oedd e wedi styried Captain Cat fel y llais. Dyna oedd y llais wreiddiol. A wedyn, wrth gwrs, mae ni wedi glywed heno. Ac oedd cyfuno y llais a Captain yn gweithio'n wych iawn, dwi'n meddwl, oherwydd i stori fe yn y marn i yw dan y Wenallt ar ei hyd. Mae'n debyg bod Dylan wedi gofyn i T. Roland Hughes pan oedd pan oedd hwnnw yn dal swydd yn y BBC nôl yn 1939 a gelfydd allan rhai o'i gerddi o Gaerdydd ar radio. A wedodd T. Roland Hughes to fe, na, ond fydd e well ta fi petasech chi yn cynnig drama hir fydryddol i ni. Oh, medde Dylan, I wouldn't be able to do that. I take so much time writing one poem. It would take me years to write a long, dramatic piece for radio. And anyway, medde fe, it would sound like a man shouting under the sea. A dyna I fi yw dan y Wenallt, y waedd o waelod y môr yw I. O'r dechrau I ni'n cael y breuddwydion yma o'r môr, mae'r Dylan sydd yn y Mabinogi yn mynd mewn i'r môr ac yn nofio yn y môr ac yn nofio cystal ar pysgod. Ond mae'r Dylan newydd yma yn dod mas o'r môr a mae yna bethau erchill yn digwydd. Mae Dylan wedi newid y chwedl mewn ffordd o'r Dylan y Mabinogi a wedi creu chwedl newydd. A cofiwch, mae adeg yr rhyfel oedd ysgrifennu'r darn yma pan oedd e wedi gorfod diengyd o Linden oherwydd y blitz. Oedd e'n dechrau ysgrifennu ddyn cei newydd. Oedd cwmwl rhyfel ar y gwaith yma, felly nid romp ohoni'n unig, mae yna bethau dychrynllid o dan y wyneb yn y môr yna.
Ac os dyred bod y gwaith wedi sgwennu yn hyfnod yr air o fel byd, Rhys, pa mor berthnasol ydy dan Wenallt heddiw?
Wel, mae o'n berthnasol iawn am bod mae o'n yn siwrne i'r is ymwybod. A mae'r is ymwybod mor infinite a beth i, yr universe.
Ie, y bydysawd, os wyt ti eisiau.
Na fo, diolch. Diolch beth bod y fardd yn bresennol.
I've got to ask, Kevin, as a llwchwr lad, is this always a lifelong ambition of yours to get to grips with undermilk wood? Was it always something you really wanted to do?
No.
Okay.
No. I was aware of Dylan Thomas as a kid. My auntie Nancy in Johnston, Carmarthenshire, I'd spend every summer holiday there. They were, I mean, we could see Fernhill, and they spoke, my auntie Nancy was real, I mean, heavy chapel. They spoke very sour of him. I mean, they demonised him at the time, you know. So I was aware of that as a kid, this guy Dylan Thomas, and, you know. But no, it was coming back, moving from Ireland to Wales, relocating the last couple of years, just seemed like if you're going to do something in DT 100 a year, come back and make movies again. It ain't a bad one, is it? I mean, it's just like, it's a fantastic piece of work, and it was a dream. But no, I'm not a, you know, I'm so much more aware of Dylan Thomas now, obviously. But I got very close to him through, you know, listening to him every day in the edits and, you know, the shoots. But yeah, but no, I've not. It's not something I wanted to do all my life.
Rhys, dwi'n gwybod ti wedi bod yn byw efo Dylan Thomas yn dy ben sy'n 2 flynedd erbyn hyn. Sut mae dy berthynas di efo'r ddwy? A ydy dy ddealltwriaeth di o'i waith os mae hynny wedi datblygu yn yr amser hynny?
Wel, ddim y ffilm yma yn angenreidiol, ond mae Dylan fel Shakespeare yn wahanol i lot o fedd arall yn fardd sydd ar ei orau pan mae o'n cael i'w ddarllen yn uchel. So mae yna gymaint o gyfle ffrennu a cynghanedd yn y Saesneg. So yn wahanol i blant, it should be heard and not seen. So.
I mean, if I could butt in, you know, one of the things I'm most pleased about with, you know, in terms of Rhys's involvement, is that we've got over, you know, the Richard Burton thing was of its time, that Stratford-upon-Avon, slightly anglicised Welshness is of a time, it's as good as it was. As was, you know, Dylan Thomas's own performance was received English and a bit odd, you know. And what I'm so thrilled about with Rhys, and it took a lot of work, believe you me, I mean, that was some journey, but we've got a Welshman, you know, we've got a Welsh first voice. It is not anglicised, it's, you know, that's cool. You know, it's not, I don't know, there's a kind of anglicised music that's, you know, it's just lovely to hear it. Oh no, that's really.
Wel, llonggorchiadau mawr iawn. Be mae cynulleidfa S4C yn mynd i feddwl o hwn, Kevin?
Beth?
Cynulleidfa S4C. Not crachach. Okay. Cynulleidfa, the viewers of S4C. What are they going to make of your interpretation of Dan Wenallt?
Dwi ddim yn meddwl. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I say, you know, as long as Dan Thomas kind of likes it, I'm sort of over that now. I don't know. You can only hope that your audience likes it. I think that, you know, people who maybe don't want to like it will secretly dip into it now and again. I don't know. You know, I hope they love it.
Do you want to...
Yeah.
Os na rhywun allan fan hyn eisiau gofyn cwestiwn i'r tri gwrdoedd? I can't see. Do you know from me? I can't see.
I know. You need your glasses.
I do.
I'm interested in how you planned the film, because there's no traditional dialogue. It's alright. Because there's no traditional dialogue in it, and there's so much visual trickery in it. It was almost like watching a graphic novel to me, because there was... Did you storyboard it a lot in terms of pre-production? Or did you just go down onto site and shoot it on the fly?
Well, no, we didn't shoot on the fly, no. No. We did a bit of storyboarding, which I would do, but not too much. Rarely stick to it. It's only a reference point, you know. It was one of those jobs where people needed to be on the same page. I wanted to shoot wide, but not hang around on anything for too long, because when you say not traditional dialogue, you mean...
Yeah, I was thinking normal film. I was just thinking how I would approach imagining how you would make that film. There's no kind of...
Oh, okay. Well, I made a conscious decision to avoid close-up photography. I decided to avoid some traditional film language. It's fairly devoid of cross-shooting sort of vernacular that I don't think would have been, because, you know, trying to create a sort of dream-like subconscious state, I just felt that the proscenium aspect ratio was the way to go, and keep it wide and not hang around on anything for kind of too long, and then sort of keep the dialogue domesticity, you know, the domestic scenes, as simple as possible, really.
The people in the seaweed.
What's that?
People in the seaweed.
Yes.
That was really impressive, and that must have taken that, you must have thought this scene.
Didn't know. That's funny enough. You mean the drowned sailors?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were one of my biggest problems. Them and the gossips, the Greek chorus, if you like. They were really not troublesome, but you know, I shot them in lots of different ways, knowing that I needed to go to the edit and be armed with a certain amount of material. I pondered the idea of special effects. You know, we had that lined up, and then I just felt that we didn't have the kind of dough to spend on this kind of special effects that I would have wanted. So I steered. So I did lots of things with that stuff. You know, remember you shot on green screen, and we did did a lot of stuff, and I just wanted to put it in the mix for the edit and sort of deal with it later. So, but I had to put a lot of time into those. You know, the drowned sailors. I mean, bless them, they're in the water half the time. I mean, really, you know, and it was hard, and the other pain, you know, the bane of the whole thing was the Chimbley song. I mean, that was like oh my God, we grappled with that. It's such a baudy. It's almost like
I think for any director who's ever done Under Milkwood, the big question is, what are we going to do with the fucking chimney song?
Because it's at the denouement of the film. You're on this kind of, you're really getting into this, and then Chimbley song comes along. Come and sweep my chimbley. It's like, Jesus, what are we going to do with this? You know, I actually wrote this bluegrass version, which we shot in the pub, and that wasn't bad. And then again, we were just armed with all this material, and ended up doing that kind of, which Bithig did. Did that opera thing, and it just seemed to be, it needed to be surreal. You know?
Well, what you very cleverly did was turn it into, you know, a drowning man's life passing before him, which
and
is
there is a sadness.
So that was the solution. Very clever.
Yeah. But that was
never told you
pain. Thank you very much. And you know, the domesticity of those dialogue pieces are very Cherry Owens. Jesus Christ, you know, you've got to be very careful. It's a long scene of domestic stuff. That could easily turn into soap opera. So how do you know, what do you do with this piece? And I just thought, faggot, peas and gravy, love. That was the way to go, and it's some people might not agree, I don't know, but I find that scene really moving because they love each other, they forgive each other, and it's the innocence of the common denominator, you know. And I love that they have it off with faggots. It's great. You've all been there, come on.
Unrhyw un arall?
I wanted to ask about your influences, because I could see like, lots of Fellini and I don't know, it was probably because of the 50s look and the surrealism, obviously, but I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about some of the filmmakers that you really
so. Fellini,
like.
Lynch, definitely pulled on, definitely Fellini, definitely Lynch. I looked at a lot of 50s classic noir, early Hitchcock even, for really simple analog devices without getting too much into special effects. Really simple things like simple wipes and just keep it simple. And I also didn't want a grim, rainy, horrible, depressing Wales. I wanted the Côte d'Azur. I wanted Sophia Loren and this kind of 50s Technicolor. And we were blessed with an amazing summer.
Yeah, it really came through.
That was a bonus, you know. But I wanted those colours and the turquoise and the aquamarine and the azure and you know and all that. So that was really I wanted this to feel like a European film of the past in a way. Yeah.
Someone commented very interestingly about Kevin's influence. I think he influenced himself, because someone very interestingly pointed out the other day that the end of Twin Town ends with two twins disappearing into the night on the ocean to the sound of a male voice choir, and that's how this film begins. So what I think is the twins have polished off the mushrooms in the back of the boat, and then that happens.
Well, you'd say that. I mean, there is a subconscious circle there. I think I kind of, between Twin Town and there's a lot of water under the bridge, but it all feels right. It's also of Swansea. Dylan is of Swansea, without, regardless of the Larn thing, he is of Swansea, and the best part of my life was spent in Swansea. I know Swansea really well, so this just Twin Town, Swansea. This is so much as it comes from his early writing in Swansea. Wouldn't you agree, Jim? Wouldn't you agree?
Odw, cydweld yn llwyr. Y dafodiaeth o'n i'n ar y cyfan o'n i'n meddwl bod y dafodiaeth wedi cael chwarae teg hefyd, oherwydd tafodiaeth sir Garfyrddin o'n i wedi sgrifennu, ac o'ch chi wedi ardderchog, oedd hi'n canu i fi yn driw iawn, ynddo fe. Ddigwyddodd un peth diddorol, os gael weid un stori fach, cyn bod fi'n mynd at y bar. Oedd, mae yna frawddeg gan Captain Cat ynddo fe yn Saesneg, Mrs. Who's that talking by the pump?
Yes.
Mrs. Floyd and no good boy or talking flatfish.
What can you talk about flatfish?
What can you talk about flatfish? Wel, o'n i'n gwybod beth i'n neud ar ceiriau yna, ond fe ddes i i'r farn, mae trafod dim byd oedd Dylan eisiau gyfleu fyna, oedd i clonc nhw heb unrhyw sylwedd. A ngair i am glonc tebyg i nawdd yw flux. Flux, hen flux. Reit, pwy sy'n siarad ar bwys y pwmp? Mrs. Floyd a daid i ddim yn trafod flux. Be all i'n weid am flux? Ymhen rhyw fis neu ddau ar ôl penderfynu ar y cyfeithar na, fe glywes i mae gair pobl Llansaint am flatfish yw flux.
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 Flux. Flux. F-L-W-C-S.
Oh, flux.
Flux. That's their word in Welsh for flatfish in Llansaint. Did Dylan know that, I wonder?
Ask Bob the Robin now.
Right.
Unrhyw gwestiwn arall?
Let's go to the bar.
Can I pay a compliment on that question? I just felt that there's two questions tonight that
combined to describe the film. One was a question about early European surrealist cinema, which I was brought up with French films in particular, and Jim talking about tafodiaeth, West Wales tafodiaeth. And I thought it was the first European surreal film I'd see with West Wales tafodiaeth in it, and I
Thanks.
Is it working? Oh. It's a natural part of the adaptation process. Not all the characters from the play can make it to the film. Not including those characters, was that a natural process, or was there some toing and froing on your behalf?
Oh, you mean the characters we ditched?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was just
word.
part of the, you know, we had half an eye on the length. We wanted to present a feature-length film. I didn't want it to hang around too much. Especially, I mean, easy to say that now. I've got a feeling I might let the English one breathe a little bit more. Because, you know, the Welsh version is just, it's maybe there's some longer stretches of dialogue, you know. But yeah, so there was a decision made to, rather than overpack it with everything, you know, again, it's the virtue of having a structure where you can lob anything out, really, in this structure. You know, it's like unfortunate that you know, some of those characters went, but they had to. You know, Bessie Bighead went in the cut, bless her, just because we had problems with her sitting in the flow, and you know.
Mae Bessie Bighead yn gymeriad epic, wi'n meddwl, mai dim ond tair llinell sydd gyda hi. Pam na allwn ni feddwl am ddrama newydd a Bessie Bighead yn brif gymeriad yn di. Mae'n gymeriad epic, Bessie Bighead. A falle bod i'r rhy fawr yn y ddrama ma dim ond i gael tair llinell.
Nani?
Okay, right, good boss.
Diolch, Jim. Reit, di pawb yn barod yn ddrink o'n te?
Ydw.
Ie? Wel, have an hour.
Thank you. Well done, Rob. Thank you, Maya. Go on, Rob.